All right, today we're going to talk about something fascinating and kind of spooky that can be lurking in the shadows of even the most stable looking relationships. It's a really complex emotional puzzle, and we're about to put the pieces together. So let me just start by asking you a question, and it might sound a little weird. Is there a ghost in your bedroom? Because the ghost we're talking about today probably isn't what you're thinking. Now, before your imagination runs wild, this isn't some supernatural horror story. Nope, this ghost is all about a secret third person, one that exists only in the mind and memory of one of the partners. Yeah, the source material we're digging into calls this a dirty secret. It's this idea that one person in the marriage is essentially a stand-in, a replacement for a love that was either lost or maybe just never really let go of. And it is so important to get this straight. This is not about cheating. Not in the traditional sense, anyway. There are no secret phone calls, no late-night meetups. The other person here is a memory, an idealized figure from the past that casts this huge shadow over the present. This whole phenomenon, it isn't just a vague feeling. It actually has a name, a clinical term, and understanding it is pretty key. It's called the replacement dynamic. So, what is the replacement dynamic exactly? Well, it kicks in when someone, in this particular example, a woman, chooses a really safe, stable partner. But the reason why isn't, well, it's not great. It's not because she's truly healed and moved past her volatile ex. It's because she's just emotionally exhausted and has basically given up on that old love. And this difference is absolutely critical. On one side, you've got moving on. That's the healthy path, right? You heal, you process things, and you freely choose a new partner with a clear heart and mind. But then you've got giving up, and that's totally different. That's an act of resignation. You're settling for stability not because you love the new person, but because you are just burnt out from the old one. You can probably see how this creates a pretty impossible situation for the new partner. Which brings us to the real emotional core of this whole explainer: what it's like to be competing with a ghost. This quote just nails the internal conflict, doesn't it? There's this part of the brain that knows, logically, hey, this partner is a good person, kind, stable, but that rational thought just gets drowned out by the emotional pull of an idealized past. The ghost of what could have been is just louder. So you have to ask, right? Why is this ghost such an impossible foe? Why can't a real, living, breathing person who is right there in front of you ever actually win this fight? Well, the answer is all about how memory works. The ghost gets perfected over time. Our minds just naturally filter out all of the bad stuff. It becomes this symbol, not of a person, but of lost potential. This ghost doesn't have bad days. It doesn't leave socks on the floor. It is completely free from any real-world flaws. It becomes this unchanging, perfect idea, and no real human being can ever compete with that. This constant, unwinnable competition leads to our final major point, this hidden conflict that's just running in the background of these relationships all the time. And what you're left with is this constant, corrosive thing called the silent comparison. Every little action, every moment, every quality of the new partner is subconsciously being held up against this yardstick of an imaginary, perfect past. The present reality is always being judged, and it always comes up short. And that is the real tragedy of it all for the replacement partner. They are locked in a battle they can never, ever win. And why? Because you can't defeat an opponent who isn't even real. You can't reason with a memory. You can't outshine a fantasy. So, all of this leaves us with one final, kind of haunting thought. It really is the core dilemma for anyone caught in this dynamic. And it's a question with no easy answer. How do you fight a ghost you can't even see?